Welcome to part 4 of learning how to play the flute. In this section we're going to talk about forming the embouchure. We're going to talk about how to produce your first tone, and we're going to talk about a few practice tips that hopefully will help you as you continue learning the flute. All of these things are found on page 4 in your Accidental Achievement Book 1 for flute. So you can turn to there and follow along, and then also if you forget things in the future, you can refer back to that page and it'll help you know what we're talking about and how to do these things. So first, forming the embouchure. Embouchure is just a fancy word for how you form your mouth when playing a wind instrument. In this case, we're playing the flute, and there's a specific way that we do that. Okay, so the first thing there says to stick out your lower lip like you're pouting. So they're wanting you to do something like this. Okay, and then they have you take off just the head joint of your flute. All right, so you don't have the whole flute right now. And they have you stick out that lower lip and then put the bottom edge of the tone hole against that flute to where you can feel it. Okay? And then they have you roll it out just a little bit so that you're ready to blow right across that tone hole. So once you do that, they say to firm the corners of your mouth so that, like if you're saying who, see the corners are nice and firm? And you're ready to go almost. So you've got your corners firm. And then they say if you look in a mirror, you should only see half of the tone hole. So there's the tone hole, or embouchure hole it says in the book. So if you put it on there, you should only see half of it. Okay, so that's kind of the steps they go through in the book. There's a couple other steps that I find helpful, or at least that I found that students find helpful. One of those is, so when you make it, you kind of make this mouth, your embouchure kind of looks like this. Right, so the corners are tight. You draw those in, okay, normally relaxed, and then ready to play. You kind of draw those corners in. And then what I find actually is if you take this tone hole or embouchure hole and you put it right in the center of your mouth, right? So if I were to close my mouth, the center this way and the center this way, okay? So right in here. If you put that tone hole right there and then roll it down, not slide it, but roll it until it kind of nestles there on that little spot underneath your lip. Okay, and I found a lot of students find more success getting their flute set up and ready to go that way than they do with the way that it says. But either way, I mean, everybody learns different, so either way will work for you, okay? So you set it that way, and then that's kind of where you set it, and then those corners are tight, and you're ready to make some sound out of that. So the next section is producing your first tone, and the first thing it talks about is taking a full breath, okay? And breathing is super duper important when playing the flute. So we're going to take a full breath and see how it feels. So breathe in, and then just relax. Okay? Now you're going to try it again this time. I want you to try and breathe in just a little more air than you did the first time. Okay, here we go. And relax. Try and make sure you're breathing into your body, not into your shoulders. Okay? So you breathe in. Think of your body as like from here, your waistline, all the way up is like a cup. And you're filling that cup full of water all the way down to the bottom of it, and you're filling it all the way up. Only in this case, it's not water, it's air, right? So you just, from the bottom to the top, and then you relax. Okay? So when you're ready to play the flute, you fill up your lungs with lots of air, and then you blow. And you blow with your embouchure set correctly, and you blow a steady amount of air, a steady stream of air. If you blow too fast, like this, oh, that was really bad. I don't know if I'll put that on the thing. So you want to just blow steady air. And when you start blowing, you make that sound that, did you hear that sound I made? Practice making that sound. You can go lots of them. Now make them slow, not slower, but longer. Now make them even longer. And that's how you want to start your tone or start blowing air on your instrument. So get that set up the right way, either by patting that lower lip, getting the corners tight, and filling it that way, or setting it on the center and rolling it down. Then for practicing making the first tone, I want you to take your hand and cover the end of the flute. Okay? And then you're going to just make that sound. This sound, right? Okay? And what I want you to do is to do like we talked about, practicing with that air, taking lots of air, and see how long you can make that tone go for. Okay? See how long you can do it. And practice that a few times. Now, if you're not making that, you're trying, and it's doing something like that, there's a chance that you probably don't have this lined up with your embouchure hole correctly. So just try and line it up again. Make sure it's in the center. And then make sure you're blowing air straight across. Okay. Now, if that doesn't work, one thing that helps is take your finger and put it in that spot where your flute goes and blow air. Like we did with the same sound. Now, if you don't feel air on your finger, then that means the air is not going on your flute. So you got to blow air so you can feel it just brush against the top of your finger. If you go too low, it's going to go down here and it's going to go everywhere, right? We do want it to just brush across the top. If you go too high, you're not going to feel it. So get those corners tight and brush air across the top of your finger. When you get that right, get your flute back up and blow it just like, pretend like your finger's there, and blow the same way with your hand on the end. Okay? And practice that a few times so you get a clear tone. Sometimes you might sound, right? Or something like that. You want to make sure you move this until you get it in the center, and this way until you get a nice clear tone. Okay, until it sounds right. Then, once you do that, you can once you get a really clear tone with your hand on the end, take your hand off and see what it does. Some students I find can make it sound with the hand on, but they can't do it with the hand off. So you want to practice, practice both ways. Make sure you can make a clear tone both ways. And then just for fun, you can take one of your fingers and as you play, make these different sounds. Oh. Okay, so you can use your finger and just play around with it and experiment and see how you can make different sounds playing the flute. And just really work on that. If you can do that and make lots of different sounds, obviously the right sound this way, and the right sound this way, and then lots of sounds this way, then, and you get really good at that, then when we start pushing buttons on the flute, you'll be great. You'll be able to play it. If you can't do those things that we just did, you need to keep practicing it until you can. Maybe talk to me in class, and I'll help you. If we're not in class, you can email me, and I'll help you with how to make sure you can make those sounds. That's the first and most important thing. You can do that. We can teach you all the rest. Okay? So start with that. Just a couple other little bits with practice tips. Okay? Number one, you want to practice daily. Okay? You don't want to practice all in one day and then not practice again for a week. You want to practice daily, and I would say about 15 minutes at first is fine, and then as you get better and better, that practice might expand out into 20 or 30 minutes a day. But at first, 15 minutes a day is great. Another good part, our tip for practicing, is make sure you find a place where you can practice where you're not going to get disturbed. Maybe it's your bedroom and you can shut the door and nobody's going to bother you while you're practicing. Maybe you've got another place in your house that works for you. I've had students who always practiced on their back porch, or I've had students who always practiced in their garage, or or in lots in their bedrooms. But wherever works for you, that you're not getting interrupted, so you can practice steadily and get a good practice in. Make sure, like we talked about, you have a firm chair to sit on and you have a stand to use. That will really help your practice a lot as well. And then also, especially at first, practice for a while those long sounds, what we call long tones. Okay, those really long tones. Practice that so that you can really get better at playing really long notes, because eventually we'll have to be able to do that. And then as we get playing and practicing regularly, you're going to want to practice a couple different things. One of the things that you practice is things that you already know how to do, but you want to improve upon. Okay, and so you practice things that you can get better at, and you slow it down, and you take it note by note, and you take little sections, and then you add things back in, and you practice things that you already know how to do, but you want to do just a little bit better to the next level. Another thing you would practice is things you don't know how to do yet. And you're going to take some of the things maybe farther in the book or the next exercise maybe we haven't talked about yet, and count out some of those rhythms and practice some of those things slowly and methodically, but make sure you're really getting right rhythms and right notes, and you can practice those things. Great musicians practice the hardest parts of their music. Let's say you have some sheet music for a concert, and you can play it all except for maybe 2 sections. Well, great musicians are going to practice those 2 sections until they get them down, and then they're going to be able to play the whole song. So that's a great thing to practice. And then the last thing I would say on your practice is with your Accent on Achievement book, there are recordings available for the first, I think, 40 or so exercises. And sometimes it's fun to play along with those. Some of the books come with a CD, and some of them have a code that can link you to a website that will play some of those exercises. So depending on the book that you have, find that out, figure out how you can play those exercises and play along with them, and that'll make your practice a little more fun and help you progress a little bit as you play through them. Hopefully this video is helpful. We covered quite a few things, and so feel free to review and to watch this video multiple times until you feel like you're getting down these things before you go to the next one. Our next video will continue on with how to play the flute, and we'll see you on that one.